All right, so today we're going deep on something pretty big, a new U.S. tariff
Yeah, 25%
on cars and trucks imported from Japan.
from Japan specifically.
Yeah, and we've got this Reuters report with some interesting comments from Prime Minister Ishiba himself.
Directly from the source.
Exactly, and of course, some expert analysis to help us really break it all down. So,
Could be interesting.
what are we really looking at here? Like, what are the big immediate impacts for Japan with this tariff hitting their auto industry?
Well, it's not just like a little trade disagreement.
Mm-hmm.
Their economy is
Oh, yeah.
really deeply connected to how many cars they sell to the U.S. And this new tariff, it's 25%, like you said, kicks in next week, according to the report. It really throws things up in the air.
It really does. Okay, so the announcement's out there. It's a big tariff. What did Japan say initially? Like, what was their first reaction?
Well, from the report, Prime Minister Ishiba, he seems pretty concerned.
Right.
He said Japan's thinking about all their options. But what I found interesting was he specifically questioned why the tariff was a flat 25% across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Because Japanese car companies have already invested a ton in building factories and creating jobs right here in the U.S.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not just importing finished cars at this point.
Exactly.
It's companies that are really, a part of the U.S. economy.
Right.
So how important is this export market, like these cars going to the U.S.? How big of a deal is that for Japan's economy overall?
Oh, it's massive. The numbers in the report are...
I mean, I know I saw the numbers, but give us some context.
So the Ministry of Finance over there, their data says cars make up more than 28% of everything Japan sends to the U.S. for sale.
Wow.
That's their top export by far. And on top of that, their whole car industry contributes about 3% to Japan's entire GDP.
So if this industry takes a hit,
The whole country feels it.
wow. Okay. Yeah. So it's not just like, some big abstract economic indicator either, right? The report mentioned something about how these car profits overseas, they actually helped boost wages in Japan recently.
Yeah, that's a really important point. The success of these exports has directly helped put more money in the pockets of Japanese workers.
So this tariff could really hit regular people.
Yeah, it could definitely impact household incomes over there.
So what are the analysts saying? Like, how bad could the economic impact actually be? I know the Nomura Research Institute had some predictions.
Yeah, Kakahite Kyuchi over at NRI, he thinks this 25% tariff could potentially shrink Japan's GDP by 0.2%,
0.2.
which doesn't sound like much.
Right.
But he's also worried that it could be enough to instantly tip Japan's economy into a downturn,
Oh, wow.
which is kind of scary because it shows just how fragile global trade can be and how much Japan relies on selling these cars overseas.
Yeah. That's a little worrying, and it sounds like the financial markets are nervous too. The report mentioned something about Japanese car company stocks dropping.
Oh yeah, right after the tariff announcement, their shares fell sharply.
Makes sense.
I mean, that shows you how uncertain things are. Investors were definitely worried about how these companies are going to deal with the increased costs and probably lower sales in the U.S.
So just to recap quickly, we've got a big new tariff by the U.S. on cars coming in from Japan.
Right.
Japan is thinking about some strong responses.
All options are on the table.
They're really emphasizing how much they've already invested in the U.S. economy.
Right, building those factories.
Exactly. And this whole car sector is super important for Japan, both for their exports and their overall GDP.
And for the average worker.
Right. And experts are thinking this could actually hurt Japan's economy, maybe even cause a downturn.
And the stock market is reacting too.
Definitely. Yeah. And that's not a good sign.
No, it's not. But this whole situation, it really raises a question for me and for all of us listening.
What's that?
Given how deeply connected the economies of the U.S. and Japan are, what options does Japan have beyond just, firing back with their own tariffs?
Right.
And what does this whole thing tell us about where global trade is headed in the future for both countries?
Yeah, it's a really complex situation with a lot of potential consequences.
Definitely a lot to think about.
For sure.
Yeah,
Thanks for breaking that down.
of course. Anytime.
And to everyone listening out there, we'll keep you updated as the story develops.
Absolutely stay tuned.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
See ya.